Hello everybody, I'm your host Hal Curtis and I'd like to welcome you to The Space Industry by satsearch, where we share stories about the companies taking us into orbit. In this podcast, we delve into the opinions and expertise of the people behind the commercial space organisations of today who could become the household names of tomorrow. Before we get started with the episode, remember you can find out more information about the suppliers, products and innovations that are mentioned in this discussion on the global marketplace for space at satsearch.com. Hello everybody and welcome to today's episode. Now today is a little bit different to our episodes that we run speaking to individual suppliers in the industry. Today I'm joined by Rifath Shaarook from Space Kidz India. And Rifath is going to give us a little bit of his experiences and some insights into the procurement and the space industry, sort of on the purchaser side, on the buyer side. But firstly, I think it would be great to set the scene by Rifath, if you could give us a little bit of a background about Space Kidz India. And hello and welcome to the podcast too, of course.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for the opportunity, Havel. It is absolutely, beautiful to be here. I just love it. And I'm a big fan of satsearch. It has helped me a lot during our searching for the components. Thank you for that.
Oh, thank you.
So I'll start with a brief intro about Space Kidz India and what we are doing here. Space Kidz India is an aerospace organization specifically located in India, in Chennai, Tamil Nadu. So we started back in 2010 as an ambassador for NASA space camps. So we take children from here to NASA and train them in different, aerospace related field. And that is how we came to know about CubeSats and nanosatellites back in 2010. It was like 12 years ago. At that time, things were very different. We started from there. So we wanted to get into space industry, particularly in nanosatellites. So we started with launching high altitude balloons for testing our components and everything back in 2015. And from there, so far, we have launched 18 balloon sat missions, 2 suborbital satellites to test our buses, one in collaboration with NASA as part of a student challenge. Currently, we have 2 satellites in orbit. One is an amateur radio satellite and another one is a IoT communication satellite. So we are a full-scale satellite development company. We manufacture all the components and subsystems for nanosatellites locally here in India and supply to all the research and education-based customers. And now we are expanding into new fields, like we are working on a re-entry capsule and a sounding rocket. So things are getting excited here.
Wow, fascinating. There's quite a range of work there.
Yeah.
How many are you? How big is the team?
We are around 12 people, work full time. And we have another 12 contract workers who work when there is a requirement.
Oh, great. So I was going to ask a little bit about the missions you're involved in, but I think you've just given us an overview there. Maybe if you could just explain a little bit about how those missions have worked from on the procurement side of things. How have you gone about sourcing the systems and tools you need, and indeed the expertise that you've required in Space Kidz India, especially in the early years, maybe?
Particularly in the earlier years, it was very difficult. There were only few companies like ISIS and Blue Canyon Technologies who were, supplying ADCS. And we had to separately go to their website, check everything, get their data sheet. It's tough in the earlier days. I'm talking about 2014, 2015, like that. And one thing what we do here at Space Kidz India is we actually don't buy the subsystems. We don't buy communication system, or we don't buy structures from third parties. We are actually one of the manufacturers. We manufacture those systems. What we buy is raw materials. For example, we buy microcontrollers, or we buy stepper motors for building the attitude control systems, and we buy raw materials for building the structures. So it's quite different, because it is not just we need to interact with the space industry. We also need to interact with normal, consumer electronics industry, like, for example, Texas Instruments or DigiKey, like that kind of supplier. So we can get the raw material and get things going on. So yeah, that's what we basically do here.
And when you're looking for the sort of suppliers like the companies you've just mentioned, when you're looking for a new supplier, you got a new kind of mission, or maybe you need to change for whatever reason, what is it that you're looking for in the supplier company in order to create a partnership?
First thing, whomever we work with, engineering support is the first thing we look at, like how much we can collaborate with them. And if, in space, that a lot of things can go wrong, and during integration there will be a lot of troubles, because it is multiple systems, right? Each system is manufactured by different people at different countries, and everything has to work together. So then only we can deliver the properly working satellite to the end customer. So during this integration, the systems has to talk with each other. So first thing we look forward is good engineering support. So in case if you're buying a system, for example, recently we purchased an attitude control system with the support of search. We found the supplier using search and we bought the ADCS, and it's amazing. They were able to provide us with all the support. So onboard computer is manufactured by us. It's our custom system, in-house system. So we have to integrate it. So that is the first thing we'll look forward to. And the second one is the flexibility on customization and also the timelines. For example, here at Space Kids India, our turnaround times are very quick. For example, in 2019, we built and launched a CubeSat within 10 days. And yeah, and last year we fabricated a satellite within 3 months. So sometimes there will be missions which require a lot of quick turnaround times. It's not like usual, like not every mission requires this, but in some missions, if you are able to develop a good partnership with a supplier who can support us in the long term with our custom requirements and suppliers as soon as possible, that would be an amazing thing to work with.
Yeah, absolutely. And when it comes to the engineering support, do you think there are ways that suppliers could like explain what they do or promote what they do on that side of things better? Should they be giving you more resources up front, or is it about integrating the systems, testing, integrating of the systems more clearly, or are there, ways you would advise them to improve?
That's really an amazing question, right? Because while looking at attitude control systems, because attitude control system, or like recently we are looking for some propulsion system, there are lots of options, and it is hard to interact with everyone, write emails to everyone, get the data sheet, and then evaluate all those things. It would be great if I understand the companies have a lot of proprietary technologies and it may require NDA to be signed off. But it would be really amazing if they can give as much as information as possible upfront. For example, maybe in search website or whatever the website they are using, if they can upload it all the things online, and it would be great. Like we can just go through the data sheet, we can see who would be the right fit, so we can just contact them directly instead of contacting everyone. It will save time both for us and for them. That would be really amazing. And what I would also like think is there are a lot of companies like in China. New companies are coming in China, and from Japan, new companies are coming. If they can also join the platform like search or like any other platform existing, a global potential can be tapped in. For example, here in Chennai itself, I'll tell you an example. We are from Chennai, and from 300 kilometers from here, we have another GPS manufacturing company. We've been trying to contact them for like a few months, but we weren't able to get a reply because that company is a very big company. You have to contact the right person to get the right response, but we weren't able to do that. Recently, they joined a bunch of companies from India like Data Patterns, Accord Systems. They all joined Search, and we just sent a request from Search, so it directly went to the right person, and today we got the response. So if companies can mention whom to be contacted for what aspect, if it is a onboard computer, whom should be contacted, if they can give a right way to contact, it would be easier for us, and a lot of time and energy can be saved.
Obviously, at the moment, there's a particular challenges globally with the supply chain, and you've mentioned that you're procuring components and electronic components and integrated circuits and things, and it's just pretty tough times out there for that sort of thing. If we kind of park that issue because fingers crossed it's a short term blip and there are certain things in the world which we don't have to talk about which could hopefully be resolved for the good of industry, at least everywhere. If we park that situation in a typical operating conditions, do suppliers typically meet the lead times that they're promised based on your experience?
Based on our experience before pandemic, most of the time we were able to there were not delays more than a week or so. because mostly we work with local suppliers, local vendors. So we, get the components on time. A major trouble where we get is the import and customs clearance. That is where things get stuck, and the customs officers, they don't understand what we are exactly trying to do. And the moment we say these components are for satellite or space, they get panic and they will inform the government agencies. Most of the time it is during the import the problem will happen, at least in India, that we have faced a lot of time. And one time we even have to leave one of our payload which we flew in US, and it was coming back, the sample was coming back, and we weren't able to clear the customs. At the end we didn't receive it. We just left it. We just left it because it was so expensive to get the clearance, so we just did it. So that is where things go wrong most of the time, at least here in India. And right now our government is working towards promoting a new space policy to make this easier for us. But apart from that, like suppliers like DigiKey, or like other suppliers who are supplying materials like semiconductors, microcontrollers, and all those stuff, we didn't face much problem before the pandemic. But after the pandemic, it's completely going crazy, and it's so painful. But before pandemic, it was not that much serious.
It's more about the customs issues and the imports then. And in those situations, are the suppliers able to kind of support you? Is it do you feel as if like the suppliers are doing the best they can and it's just down to some customs officials somewhere?
Yeah, most of the time, we won't be able to interact with the suppliers like DigiKey or Element 14. They are a very big platform. So we won't be able to have a continuous conversation with them. It's all about what is the information we are giving, the address and everything. So that is the one. But if you're talking in terms of suppliers like the manufacturers, like we are seeing insert search or ISIS, or Endurosat, those times they try to support as much as possible from their side, whatever the address we are giving and whatever the shipping requirement we are having on all those things. It is not all about just the satellite alone, satellite components alone. Sometimes the requirements are regarding the test equipments, for example, spectrum analyzers or signal generators, so like that, which are not directly connected to satellite industry, but it is very crucial for testing your subsystem, checking out your satellite, and dispatching it for the delivery. In that perspective, suppliers are doing their best. Recently we got a signal generator for testing one of our satellites, and it was delivered under 24 hours. Under 24 hours, yeah. Not to India, but to one of my friends there, and he just took it here. Within 2 days, we got it there. So they are trying to do their best. Sometimes, we also need to give correct import codes, correct import clauses, and everything. If we make mistakes from our side, and if finally it's a mess, it's we have to blame our side only.
Yeah, it's great to hear that, the suppliers are helping you whenever they can. And yeah, I think everybody recognizes that, as we've said, the challenges in the supply chain are felt by everybody. It's not, doesn't matter where you are, what scale you are, they're kind of being felt by everybody. So at least there's that level of understanding. And obviously you mentioned a bit about the missions that you've done, and there have been innovation in those missions. So you've tried to push the envelope in certain ways. When it comes to flying components at any level, if you want to go down the parts of the subsystem, are you likely to fly a component that meets your technical specifications for a satellite, but that doesn't necessarily have flight heritage? This is, I think, an interesting one in the industry.
At least from our organization's personal perspective, we love to fly components and subsystems which doesn't have any flight heritage. We actually have dedicated missions like once in a year or couple of years just to fly components which does not flown before to space and qualify them, so we can use that in the future missions. Because we are at the end of the day, we are not the end customer. We are not sending satellite, getting the data and selling it. We are not getting business out of the data. We are a satellite manufacturer, and the more innovation we can make in hardware, more money we can save for our customers. So it's our responsibility to test new components and qualify them so we can provide, best service to our customers. So most of the times our satellites, it is not customer satellites. Every year, Space Kids India, ourselves, we have our own missions, personal technology demonstrator missions, in which we fly new components, and we love to do that because we get good deal because it's a new component, so prices are cheap, and it's a win-win situation. We can provide them with the data so they can evaluate how their system is performing. At the same time, we can also learn new things about how we can integrate these things in the future. So we absolutely love to do that, and we are actually going to do that in an upcoming mission as well. We are flying a new attitude control system.
All right, brilliant. When is that?
It's actually scheduled for launch on August 15th. Right now, the integration is going on.
Okay, fantastic. Oh, well, best of luck.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And then you mentioned that with your own systems and the own subsystems, the price is a factor, like the flying of the price, and you're all about being able to generate value at the end of it. So obviously price is a consideration, one of the considerations in space, but space is kind of a unique business model in the sense that the environment dictates so much of what goes on, and price is therefore only one factor. But assuming that there was, an established flight heritage or performance for a product that you needed, would you consider switching to a new supplier, new vendor for any of the products due to a reduction in price, or would other factors be more important to you in such a situation?
It totally depends upon the situation. For example, in a mission where we are having a camera in this mission, okay, the camera, we cannot take risk because it is one of the primary payload, so we cannot put a new hardware. So we are using a flight qualified, our own model, or it is a custom fabricated one, but we are not flying a new one. We went with the where reliability matters. So in that kind of scenarios, we will prefer flight proven hardware. But in case it's more of an experimentation or like our technology demonstrator missions where there is a price is reduced, what we will do is first we will get the engineering model and we will do an internal evaluation with the team that how good the equipment is, and we will go through the documentation and we will check how they have done so far, and if it satisfies our engineering team, and then we will give it a try. Maybe we can first fly it in a high altitude balloon mission, and we will be doing thermovacuum testing, and if all those things get satisfied, we will absolutely love to go with the newly developed modules. But if it is a flight critical one, for example, the deployers will never take risk. The releasing mechanisms, the deployers mainly. Recently, we had an opportunity to use a deployer from a new manufacturer, but we have to say no because it was never used, and we cannot risk to jeopardize the entire mission. It's a very crucial one where we went with the more reliable flight proven system. If it is just a small mechanism like an antenna release mechanism, even in this mission, what we are doing is our primary antenna is held by a flight proven system, but we are just having another dummy antenna with another like secondary transmitter, which is held by a new system we are developing. So even if that fails, it's not a problem for us. But once we are able to prove that in space that it is actually working, from next time we will switch to our own system, which will save us a lot of money. So it's a complex engineering process and design process we have to go through for each and every component. Yeah, case by case it changes. Yeah.
You've given some really useful information, I think, for suppliers. As I mentioned, this is why I was really interested in talking with you. So, and you mentioned engineering support, the importance of communications, maintaining those communication upfront, sharing of testing data and documents and everything. Do you have any other kind of general advice that you would give to suppliers in the industry today who would like to sell, to a Space Kidz India or to companies like yourself in the future?
Yeah, actually, right now, comparing to the scenarios which were like, since we are here for like around past 10 years, comparing to the earlier days, right now, things have changed a lot. Before and all, you can't even get the data sheet online. and you have to mail. The response used to be slow, but now things got really better because new space has been trending one, and everyone wants to get into space industry. Suppliers, they got really good at communicating with the customers. So I think right now we are doing almost good. But what I would say is sometimes suppliers can include 3D models, and we can see whether it would fit our requirements. Our data sheets, detailed data sheet is a very important thing. So every supplier, if they can provide detailed data sheets in the product page, which can be openly downloaded, that would be an amazing thing. That's what I would say. And manufacturers, mostly while looking at even in search or in any other platform, only the countries like US and countries like suppliers from Europe, only they are supplying all the details openly, and it's available publicly. But I have worked a lot with people from Ukraine. I have worked a lot with people from Russia, from China. I have worked with them, and I know what are the amazing technologies they are having in terms of CubeSats, in terms of solar cells, onboard electronics, and everything. But they are not openly available. So if those people can also come into it, the prices will become competitive. The more competition, the prices will get lower, and it will benefit people like us. So that would be amazing.
You're completely honest about your motivation for that happening. But yeah, but a rising tide lifts all boats, and so you'd hope that the industry as itself would benefit from changes in. And as you say, it's not about the ability to communicate; it's about the mindset, deciding to communicate. Because when it's needed in an individual transaction setting, the information is all there. It's just a case of let's go one step further and do it in the marketing setting.
And also, one more thing I would like to add is like it's a standard practice for all the companies to sign NDA right before providing further details. And some companies use portals like DocuSign to just sign the things, and sometimes they'll manually send the thing you have to fill up and sign it. So if all the companies can come up with a platform or something where NDAs and agreements can be just a single tap, like we have Apple Money, Apple Card, and all, right, you can just tap it, everything will get executed, right? Because see, as a supplier, we work with tens of different companies, and executing tens of different NDAs, MOUs is a tiring thing. So if they can come up with a platform where agreements can be signed in a single tap, even search can provide such platform where you can authenticate the NDAs and MOUs on behalf of customers. It would be very easy for us, and it would also reduce the load on our legal team.
Great. Now that makes sense. So you're not against signing the NDA. It's just the time it takes to do it is a bit of a limiting factor for you.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's important. That's important for companies to know, I think so.
Yeah, because for company it is just like they are one company, they are working with multiple customers. For what customers perspective, we are working with a lot of people like them, and we have to sign tons of NDAs and different agreements.
Yeah, I see. So on the supplier side, all their NDAs are the same, but for you, you've got all different formats and stuff. Yeah, brilliant. Well, thank you very much. It's been really great information. I think just as a final question to wrap up, I wondered if you could just share a bit more about the future plans for Space Kidz India, and what sort of types of new technologies are on the horizon. What are you considering as your missions and services are maturing in the years to come?
Now, right now, we are into manufacturing of satellites, nano satellites weighing less than 25 kg. And in the coming mission, we are going to qualify our own custom bus. That is one thing. But our future missions, where we are mostly concentrating, is on two things. One is sounding rockets. We are developing sounding rockets because we want to increase the rate of launch vehicles, suborbital launch vehicles available, because most of the companies are now focusing on orbital vehicles. We work primarily with students and research institutes, and it's really hard to get a quick turnaround time and launch cadence in suborbital vehicles. So we are working on that, and we are also working with different suborbital launch providers to provide a common platform where our payloads can be launched to space quickly. That is the first one. And the second one is we are working on a re-entry vehicle, like a space capsule which can go to space and come back. We are personally working on some experiments which need that. So these two are the major missions we are working right now.
Fantastic. Well, yeah, both very ambitious undertakings there. So best of luck in both of those areas.
The more ambitious the project is, it will be more thrilling, and more thrill, it's more fun. to work with.
Absolutely. Oh, fantastic. Thank you. And if anybody out there is interested in your work, should they find you at spacekidzindia.in?
Yes, they can log on to our website and they can reach out to us. We will be happy to support them.
Great. And that's kids with a Z, everybody, or a Z if you're in the US. Thank you very much, Rifath. That was fascinating. I really appreciate you giving us all your insights and your personal experiences of procurement in the industry. I think it's really useful information. So thank you from SatSearch and from our entire community.
Thank you. Thank you so much to you and the entire SatSearch community. And it really makes things easier. And I hope there would be more platforms for different things in space industry coming soon.
Thank you again, and to all our listeners out there, thank you very much for spending time with us today. As I mentioned, you can find out more about Space Kidz India's work at spacekidzindia.in, and we'll also have some links in the show notes and everything. Thank you for spending time with the Space Industry Podcast today. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Space Industry by SatSearch. I hope you enjoyed today's story about one of the companies taking us into orbit. We'll be back soon with more in-depth, behind-the-scenes insights from private space businesses. In the meantime, you can go to satsearch.com for more information on the space industry today, or find us on social media if you have any questions or comments. To stay up to date, please subscribe to our weekly newsletter, and you can also get each podcast on demand on iTunes, Spotify, the Google Play Store, or whichever podcast service you typically use.